What is up, video gamers? Name's Mac. I'll be showing you guys how to affix today. There's a lot to get into, so let's get right into it, shall we? So what is affixing? Affixing is the process of adding stats to your items outside of enhancements via these things called augments. Augments are labeled into different categories, and depending on those categories, some augments may or may not be able to coexist on the same item. Augments can range from adding flat stats like HP, PP, and attack power. However, there are unique augments, known as S-grade augments, that are more powerful than flat stats by granting percentage potency boost, crit rate, crit damage, or even utility like PP recovery, lifesteal, or even damage reduction. In addition to S-grade augments, super augments can give you a ton of flat stats. However, the synthesis of these augments can be quite difficult to achieve. So let's start with the general rules and guidelines for affixing. So affixing can only be done at the item scientist's Monica or Dudu, located on the first floor of the shopping plaza right below the salon. Affixing can involve up to 6 items, the base item, and up to 5 fodder items. The more fodder items that you use, the more meseta it will cost you. So in order to affix augments to an item, you must have an item with the same number of slots or more. Weapons can only be used for weapons and units for units. You can't use weapons on units or vice versa. If you want more augment slots on your item, you have to go through upslotting, which drastically reduces the success rate of each augment. And depending on all of the augments involved, this will dictate the success rate of each augment, since the presence of certain augments are able to boost the affix rate of others. All materials used when adding augments will be permanently gone regardless if it fails or succeeds, unless you add augments via transfer S-grade augments or use augment insurances. 2 same name augments cannot coexist on the same item, for example 2 souls, 2 factors, etc. So generally there are 3 ways of getting your augments onto your items: transferring, synthesizing, and adding. Transferring involves feeding copies of that same exact augment up to a max of 3 copies for optimal transfer rate. Synthesizing involves combining different augments for a much stronger one than any of the associated recipe augments. Adding augments involves using augment capsules that you get from player shops, AC scratches, or even Star Gem scratches. Additionally, there are several methods that we can use to improve the affix rate of any augment. First are by augmentation aids. These are available from 5% to up to 60% boost. Second is by augment guidance. This is an augment that boosts the affix rate by 5%. Next we have the Genesis's weapon potential life's guidance. At potential level 3, it'll boost the affix rate by 10%. Next we have the same name item bonus. So if all the material used in an affix, base plus the fodder, are the same name, the affix rate bonus will apply. Note, if a single item is different, the boost will not apply. And lastly, we have event boosts. Sega occasionally has events that grant affix rate boosts by 5, 10, or even 15%. However, there aren't really any concrete timetables on when they'll come, but Sega will typically announce event boosts in the weeks to come before an update on their official website. So all in all, if you're interested on how to calculate the affix rate yourself, this is the formula. However, there are affixing simulators that are available that do all the calculations for you, so I would highly recommend playing around with them as they are valuable resources to use when planning your item builds. Now before we move on to some of the augment recipes, I just want to touch upon these things called SAFs, Special Augment Factors. SAFs are unique in that they are able to add a single augment at 100% and can be reaffixed any number of times, so as long as the base item is preserved. To unlock an item's SAF, you must have that item reach its max enhancement level. Weapons obtained from player shops, exchange shops, and even some Zeeg weapons only come at plus 30, so just be mindful of that when planning your weapon builds. When enhancing a weapon to plus 35, there are level limits. Level limits occur at plus 10, plus 20, plus 30, and for each level from plus 31 to plus 35. At level limits plus 10, plus 20, and plus 30, you must unlock the weapon's potential before enhancing any further. If your weapon is capped at the plus 30 level limit, you need to perform a limit override. You can limit override 2 ways: by enhancing the weapon with the same name weapon, or by using a support item such as an enhancement cap plus 1. Once your weapon or unit reaches max enhancement level, the SAF will be unlocked. At that point, the next affix you perform with that item, the SAF will be available for selection at 100%. Additionally, during your adventures, you may come across weapons that have S-grade augments as SAFs, so those particular items you may want to preserve and distribute to different weapons as you please. Since S-grade augment transfers are unique in that they will always transfer at 100% even regardless of upslotting, they also don't follow the same rules as normal affixing since they do not have to be the same number of slots in order to transfer. Some quick tips for enhancing weapons. EXP weapon minis can be exchanged for 10 photon boosters in the Photon Booster Exchange Shop or for 5 X cubes in the X Cube Exchange Shop, both located on the second floor of the shopping plaza in the Red Light District. You may also use collection folder weapons for easy weapon EXP. Usually one brings it up to a level limit. However, consider dismantling those collection folder weapons as they provide useful materials for Zeeg exchange. Honestly, there's a whole system to enhancing, but I don't really think it's worth going over since these items are available. So now that we have a basic understanding of the affixing rules, let's move on to some of the augment recipes. Now, I won't be going over every single augment in the game since a lot of the ideas remain the same, but I will be going over the ones that I personally feel from experience need a little bit more explaining. For an extensive list of augment recipes, I made a cookbook. The link for that will be in the description. Please do check it out in tandem with the affixing simulators, as I do think they'll be very helpful when it comes to planning your item builds. So without further ado, let's start with Astral Soul. Astral Soul is synthesized with a 60% success rate by combining 4 Soul Catalysts and 1 Soul of Darkness. Soul Catalysts are made with a 10% success rate by combining Persona, Apprentice, Gemini, Elder, and Luther Souls. Astral Soul can only be transferred when Soul Receptor is present with a 10% success rate. Astral Soul synthesis can be trivialized on weapons since all Ray and Union series weapons have Astral Souls as SAFs. For any general soul transfer, all souls transfer at 0% with 1 copy, 50% with 2 copies, and 80% with 3 copies, with the exception of any Phantasm Soul, Exta Soul, and the aforementioned Astral Soul. Note, with Soul Receptor present, it will boost the transfer rate of all soul type augments to 100% except Exta Soul and Astral Soul. Next, we'll move on to Exta Soul synthesis. There are 2 possible options. The first is by combining 1 Phantasm Soul and 1 Species Soul. Once the 2 are present, you can freely choose which soul you would like to pick on your item. Choose the one that best fits your character's build. The second is by using the EX Soul series and 1 Species Soul. This method, however, you may not be able to select which Exta Soul you'd like, as it's entirely based on what EX Soul you chose for your affix. So as you can see from the graphic, souls can boost the affix rate of certain stat enhancements by 20%, up to stat 4 synthesis only. Griffin Soul is especially useful as it boosts the affix rate of might, precision, casting, or sovereign ward by 20%. You may also use Mutation to boost stat enhancement synthesis. Mutation 1 boosts the synthesis rate of any stat 3 by 30%. Mutation 2 boosts the synthesis rate of any stat 4 by 30%. And Mutation 1 and 2 have the same transfer rate as souls at 0% with 1 copy, 50% with 2, and 80% with 3. That just about covers it for the souls. Now, moving on to the factors. Aether factor is synthesized at 60% by combining 4 factor catalysts with 1 Aether soul. Factor catalyst can be created at 10% when combining Yamato, Deus, and Mother factors. Aether soul is created at 10% by using any combination of 2 of these souls, Eastern Soul, Full Vegas Soul, or Ascarte Soul. You can't use 2 of the same souls, as that will just result in a soul transfer, and no Aether soul will be able to be selected. Transfer of Aether soul is possible as it follows the same rules as general soul transfers. Aether factor can only be transferred at 10% when factor receptor is present in an affix, and all factors with the exception of Aether factor transfer at 0% with 1 copy, 30% with 2, and 50% with 3. Additionally, you can boost the transfer rate of factors by 20% by utilizing certain souls. Eastern Soul boosts Yamato factor transfer, Ascarte Soul boosts Deus factor transfer, and full Vegas Soul boosts Mother Factor transfer. Factor receptors can also be used to transfer any factor except Aether Factor at 100%. Next, we have Mana Reverie. Mana Reverie can be synthesized at 60% by combining 4 Reverie catalysts plus 1 Omega Memoria. Reverie catalyst can be synthesized at 10% by combining Persona, Opergina, Gemini, Elder, and Luther Reveries. All Reveries transfer at 0% with 1 copy, 30% with 2, and 50% with 3. Any Reverie, with the exception of Mana Reverie, can transfer at 100% with Reverie receptor present. Historia or Fabulous Souls both boost the transfer rate of any Reverie by 20%, with the exception of Mana Reverie. Reverie Catalyst can be trivialized on weapons since it's available as an SAF on the Profound, Starquake, or Lamia series. Omega Memoria can be synthesized at 10% by combining Fabulous Soul, Historia Soul, and Omega Reverie. Additionally, Omega Memoria can transfer at 0% with 1 copy, 50% with 2, and 80% with 3. Mana Reverie may only be transferred with Reverie receptor present at a 10% success rate. And that just about sums up Mana Reverie. Now moving on to Absolute Glare. In order to synthesize Absolute Glare at 60%, you'll need to combine 4 Glare Catalysts with 1 Photon Glare. To make Glare Catalyst at 10%, you'll need to combine Baroque Glare, Fodrus Glare, Executor Glare, and Angeli or Duminous Glare. To make Photon Glare at 10%, you'll need to combine Mitra, Faruna, Shiva, and Origin Glares. For glare transfers, with the exception of Absolute Glare, they all have a transfer rate of 30% with 1 copy and 50% with 2. Divine Will boosts the transfer rate by 20%, and Divine Order boosts it by 30%. The strongest available flat stat augment in the game, Guardian Soul, gives you plus 70 to all stats, plus 70 HP, and plus 7 PP. To create this, you'll need to combine all of the 4 aforementioned super augments to synthesize at 10%. That's right, you'll need to combine Astral Soul, Aether Factor, Mana Reverie, and Absolute Glare. So the last couple of augments I just want to touch upon are ARKS Max and EV Stats. ARKS Max is synthesized with copies of ARKS Fever at 40% with 2 copies and 60% with 3. ARKS Max can be transferred using copies of itself at 30% for 2 copies and 50% for 3. In general, any Fever transfers at 100% with just 1 copy. EV Stat synthesis involves using a combination of 2 certain lesser stat enhancements. EV Stats are made by combining Lesser Might, Precision, or Casting 5 with either a Lesser Spirit or Stamina 5 to synthesize 2 of the following at 50%. If you chose Lesser Spirit 5 in the Affix, you'll be able to select EV Stat PP. If you chose Lesser Stamina 5, you will get EV Stat HP. So in terms of any conflicts, EV Might PP and EV Might HP may not coexist on the same item. However, EV Might PP and EV Casting PP may. EVs cannot be transferred after synthesizing. There are a ton more augments in the game, but these just about cover a lot of the key ideas when it comes down to affixing. So before we move on to a working example, I just want to go over transferring augments using Augment Transfer Passes. Augment Transfer Passes guarantees the transfer of augments from one item to another without fail. By using this method, it will strip all of the augments off of the fodder item and place it onto the base. Unlike S-grade augment transfers, this is considered an overwrite, so the normal augments on the base item will be destroyed and replaced with the fodder's augments, with the exception of any S-grade augments. Use of augment capsules are possible when using this method, so it is feasible to guarantee a quote-unquote upslot with super augments involved without the risk of any augments failing. So the pool of augments you can select from consists of the S-grade augments on the base and fodder items, all of the normal augments on the fodder item, and the augment capsule you've chosen. Augment transfer passes can be obtained from Cameo, located on the first floor of the shopping plaza, right below Franca's Cafe, for Target Class X cubes. These reset monthly, and I'd highly recommend doing your best to obtain these, as they're extremely useful and very hard to come by. So now that we've learned all the basics we need to know to affix, let's apply it and run through an example of building a weapon through Zeeg Exchange. You can find Zeeg on the first floor of the shopping plaza to the right of the item scientists. Zeeg is a really important NPC as he holds all the power in making strong 15-star weapons and 13-star units. When building weapons through Zeeg, you'll need to have all the required material before exchanging. The final weapon will inherit everything about the base weapon chosen, and this is especially useful as some of the material weapons during an exchange have particularly powerful SAFs, so if you slot them on beforehand, it'll cut costs on your final affix. So the process of building your items can be broken down into a couple of steps. Selecting your base item, listing your goal augments, preparing the S-grade augment fodder, slotting on the S-grade augments, upslotting the item if possible, preparing fodder items, and then combining the base and the fodder items for the final affix. Now moving on to an example. So for today I will be affixing the Carabiner Puros for a Phantom Rifle build I've been wanting to try out. So as you can see from Zeeg, you'll need a lot of material in order for exchange. Of the 3 weapons, we will be choosing one of them to use as our base item, and I want my weapon to be at 8 slots, so I'll be choosing a weapon that I already have at 8 slots to avoid the unpleasant experience of downslotting during the upslotting process. The rest of the weapons can be at any number of slots, just as long as they're at plus 35. Now that we have our base item sorted out, let's move on to our goal augments. So the Puros series is special in that it's able to slot on S-grade augments 1, 2, 3, and 5, so we'll consider those first. Based on my class, playstyle, and budget, these are the S-grade augments I've chosen. S1 augment will boost the potency depending on the number of augment slots on your item. We can get this augment from player shops, and we'll add it to the dim rifle, aka my base weapon for Zeeg exchange, via transfer S-grade augments. S2 Precision Will 2 adds crit damage, and we'll add this to the dim rifle via augment capsule. S3 Precision Will 2 will add it to the dim rifle via transfer S-grade augments that I have from a pre-existing weapon, and S5 Augment Bloom will have to add when we have the Puros via augment capsules obtained from the Rising Weapon Badge 5 shop. Now that we have the S-grade augments out of the way, let's take a look at the rest of the augments. Astral Soul will add to the Puros via an SAF from an 8-slot Union weapon. Grand Precision will add to the Puros via an augment capsule obtained from player shops or AC scratches. Phrase Decay will add to the Puros via an SAF from an 8-slot Basilisk weapon. And Mana Reverie will have to synthesize to the Puros using its recipe: 4 Reverie catalysts plus 1 Omega Memoria. This means that the Union and Basilisk weapons must have Reverie catalysts or an Omega Memoria for synthesis to be possible. Luckily for us, we can use SAFs to mitigate the risks of downslotting when affixing Reverie catalysts onto our Union and Basilisk weapons. So all in all, once we exchange for the Puros weapon, this is what the final affix will look like. And this is the final part of the affix. We'll go to the Affix Augment menu option, select the Carabiner Puros as our base item, and then we'll select all of our prepped fodder. And as you can see, the more items we select, the more the affixable augment list grows. Once we select the last item, we'll be able to see Mana Reverie in that list. When we hit confirm, we can then select the Grand Precision Augment capsule, and it will bring us to the augment selection screen. I'm a little OCD with how my augments are arranged, so that's why you see me selecting and deselecting some augments, so the order is to my liking, but you can arrange them however you like. Once we hit Start Affix Augment, it'll bring us to another menu where we can choose to select any augmentation aids or use any augment insurances. So for this affix, we'll use an augmentation aid 40% to boost Mana Reverie synthesis to 100, and once we hit yes, all the augments will successfully affix. And that's it. That's our weapon all said and done. Time to damage test this bad boy. And that just about covers Affixing. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you so much. Go drink some water. That was a lot to get through. If you found this video helpful, please do drop me a like and share with your friends. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more PSO2 content on this channel. I don't really know the direction of this channel quite yet. I just wanted to make this video because I like this game and I wanted to help the community. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment down below. But I think for you guys, the best way you can reach me is through Twitch. I'll be streaming this game, so feel free to pop in whenever I'm live. If you have any questions, or if you just want to say hi, that's cool too. Yeah, that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll see you when I see you. Take it easy, guys. Peace.